Hey guys, this is Dardamos with Dardamos Dominions, and I'm here with Jumin, who is one of the players in the upcoming game Clash of the Titans. Say hi, Jumin.
Hello.
Now, Jumin, what is the nation that you'll be playing in this game?
I'm going to be playing the dirty, stinky Helheim elves.
Okay, so you said Helheim, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then so when I'm talking to all the other players, the first question that I have, and this is going to be a rough one for your nation, is who is your researcher?
Who is my researcher? Well, to be fair, it would depend first on the state of my nation. Like, ideally, I'd want to use probably Venjar if I've got to stick only to national units, because they can be decent researcher, but above all, they will be able to be used efficiently on the map because of their paths. So you can, but the idea with elves would be to have like mages that can move very quickly to go to the battles that are important, then go back to research and stuff like that. So I'd be tempted to say Venjar, but they're like 260 gold, so it's not like the go-to researcher. So then I'll add that that would be indies. If there's like good research indies around, especially nature indies, then those would do very nice for a researcher, especially as it also later enabled me to have a very nice amount of nature in my support for battles. So it's kind of like there's not a one go-to research suit. It's more like depending on how much money and what's available, then you've got to switch around because your units are so expensive that you get to make the most of each card you can use.
Like, this is a terrible research lineup, dude. This is absolutely atrocious.
Yeah. They've got like for 7 research, it's 120 gold, and you got an R1, which is not that good, to be honest. R1 is like you need summon air power to be able to do something on the battlefield, so it resets, or you really need to use air gems, but air gems are already so useful in lots of ways that it feels a lot of waste. You've got the Alcar, which is like 160 gold for 7 research 2, and just Death 1, which saying is not very good. You need to enable them with a school staff to be able to do decent swing with them. So it's like you don't have go-to researcher. You've got to pay attention all the time to your economy, your available indies, what you're going to be needing to choose actually what's going to be the commanders that you need. Simply use them as researcher until you need them in battle, and then you move out, and then you go back to research. And yeah, at least that's how I approach the research with them.
This is absolutely atrocious. I mean, I remember that I think that I just did Sakane, who's Machaka, and even their research isn't as efficient as, most human nations. But then, we come to the elves, and it's just like, it makes me want to cry. Now, granted, like you said, this is a useful mage. Now, the Death one, I'd use him if he was free. But like this guy, I mean, you can still do storm power with him and then do air 2 shenanigans.
Yeah.
So at least he's dual purpose with that. Now, I mean, are you just not going to rely heavily on research, or how do you deal with that problem?
I do intend to rely heavily on research, but we'll probably go into that a bit more when it comes to my build, which we'll probably talk on later. But for me, there's a few ways to abuse research with Helheim. First of all is the fact that as elves, you've got a huge early power with your troops, which means you can usually afford to go for stuff like construction, to gear your tanks, and to make research boosters. And what happens with Helheim is like they've got a huge, but real huge death income base, which is pretty nasty. So you can do school mentors, which are expensive, but are also very efficient. And the thing is that death gems are very useful in the game, but not in the very early turns, unless you do reanimation, basically. There's a few other use too, but I mean, usually you don't use dev gems so much early into the game. So my plan is to rely on these huge early gem cones that Helheim got to actually boost my research via School Mentor forward.
So you're going to use the death gems in order to make skull mentors, in order to boost. Now that's really interesting because normally I would disagree with you and say it's a death gem. Death gems are, there are maybe better there might be better gems, but it would be an arguably better gem, not a definitively better gem than a death gem.
For a lot of nations, I would completely agree. But
this one, you're literally saving yourself 260 gold by making a skull mentor, because it's, what is it, 10 research?
It's 14 research, so it's 3 research more than Evangel. It's 3 research more than Evangel, which is 260 gold.
That's insane. And not only that, but it looks like you have the ability to make hammers almost out of the gate. So the moment that you make that hammer, it goes down to 8 death gems for 260 gold. I take that trade.
Yeah. So that's like one of the options you got. If you're confident that you can use your urge, you don't have a huge use of urge gem in the beginning, then some all quill, not a lot, but some all quill at the beginning to boost a little bit can be of use too. The trick would be to not use too many, to have enough urge gem available to face whatever you're going to face. But that's another addition. So that's like, let's say you can probably go with 3-4 all quill in the early game before you start to massing the school mentors, probably. So at least that's how I would approach how to face research with this nation, adding like I said earlier, the Indies commanders, which are probably the most efficient researcher you can find for this nation.
What's funny is that when I played as Valheim in the Blitz with Lucid, I came across sages almost immediately. They were in my cap circle. And I just about stood up and danced at that point. It was Nirvana had been achieved.
Yeah, I can understand that. It also breaks you into Astral, which is huge.
My suggestion for you, Chuman, is to go find yourself some sages. That's what the pros do.
Oh, sages or lizard shaman or Amazon, the Amazons, I'd take that any day. Any day.
I kid you not, dude. One game I had was Memoria. I came across 2 sage provinces in my cap +2. I was rolling in research by the end of that game.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So, but what would you be willing to take? Are you willing to take? Is it just like give me any type of researcher that's even remotely better? Put a fort there and start pumping out researchers.
Well, ideally, there'd be researchers such as the Amazons and stuff like Sage, like we talked just before, because they've got actually a pretty good usage outside of being fairly efficient researcher compared to this nation potential. But then any N1 indies that's not sacred, ideally, so that I don't have to invest even more gold into having the means to pump them out, would do, probably, because nature is like so strong and so useful, and there's a few poison nation in the game too and stuff. So I want to have the means to face those fairly early, because full vapor is available early. So yeah, like probably anything that doesn't require both a lab and a temple, except if it's like lizard shaman, then would be good. Honestly, I think.
So I'm coming into one of my more advanced turns, and you got like these woodhenge druids here, but that is still terrible ratio, correct? Or would you take this just because it's a nature gem or nature mage?
Probably. The thing is that they are sacred, the woodhenge, so they are like what I wanted to avoid, which is 900 gold to be able to pump them out instead of only 500. But if I don't have anything else, yeah, then I'd take it.
Like, what are you looking for in specific? You said the Amazons, right?
Yeah, the Amazons would be good. Whatever name that's the Jade ones would be like the Jade Sorcerer, Jade Sorceresses would be very nice because they can. Well, that's only a 25. That's only a 25.
This is your dream right here, right? This is what you'd really like.
Yeah,
is your shamans.
The Jade Sorceress really is like what I'd want. Then if
not Crystal Sorceress is Jade Sorceress, right?
Yeah.
See, Nosy went and stole this one from me. Otherwise, I'd be able to show it off to you guys. So I blame Nosy.
The thing is that the Crystal Sorcerers are very good too, and if I can get them, I'd get them. And sure, it breaks me into Astro. But the reason I would prefer the Jade Sorceress is that it gives me 2 paths and not only one, and it gives me Moss Body, which is very easy to fluff on a few commanders to be able to hold a lot of stuffs with basically nothing, just a few fluff, and you're ready to go because it's such an amazing spell. That they can random. It's rare, but they can random N2. And if I get N2, then I'm like, I can do anything in N. It's once you get one N2, then it's very easy to start rolling into the nature gem and the nature stuff you can do. So yeah, I think the Crystal Sorceress I take if I can get them because Astral is that good and useful and stuff. But given the choice, Jade Sorceress. At least.
Okay, so what are you expecting your main battle line mage to be? The one that you have the most of?
Well, Van Giles to start with. I think it's going to be the most frequent.
And what are these guys going to be casting?
It really depends on what you face. Probably the most reliable thing I can do for in the early mid game is probably going to be Air Elemental. They are still the most busted elemental of the game with due reasons.
Okay, where is that at? Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on just a second. Push escape to my head. So that's, you said air elementals, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's, you want the big ones or the little ones?
The big ones, unless I face 80, but 80 is late game, so.
No, wait, hold on. These summon Valkyries, are these the same Valkyries that you have in your, like, that you could recruit?
Yes, but it's like not an actually good spell so far from my testing. It doesn't bring much value, actually. Because you need to bless them afterwards too and stuff, so it's actually not that good.
Are you serious? Like, it's 1 air gem for 7 sacred. That seems amazing.
Yeah, but that's 7 sacreds that are not blessed, and that's 7 sacred that have 12 protection, 13 HP. And sure, they've got 17 defense skill on Glamour, but that's also the same stat as the that's less than alerting, for example, and they won't be blessed unless I manage to time the means to bless them before they fly in, because you've got the casting time is 125%. So it's a bit longer than most stuff. So that means that the first round of blessing would have gone by. And the thing is that the Valkyries won't be scripted, so they will automatically go on attack with flying.
Oh,
so
this isn't. This is during battles. Oh, that's why I screwed up. I thought it was a ritual, dude. Okay, so you're literally having to cast these during the battle.
Yeah, so you basically summon 7 units, which sure are decent, like 17 defense skill, 12 protection. It's not bad for early age. It's only 1 attack, I think. Yeah, only 1 attack. Low HP, and you're not sure that you can reliably bless them. All that for
absolutely true. Yeah. Okay, so you'd probably.
and you need Engadrop to actually use them, because it's free air 1 def to be able to cast that. So that's also very strenuous on the mage able to cast that spell. So
when I was talking in the earlier, we went from like, what are your big magic casters? But what I want to do is I want to go backwards and say, we talked about, you want to do your air elementals, and I'm guessing there's some other stuff that you want to do with those lowly air 2s, air 1s. What's going to be your big magic spells? What's your big your first 2 or 3 research goals that are going to be like big, battle wide field, like, what I'm talking about?
Well, so like I said, our elemental is probably the most reliable in most circumstances. It depends what I face, but probably the most reliable one. I'd say that it's very likely that I'd go construction for stuff such as the means to do gears, because gears is just like that strong on Legion of Steel. Because if you check out actually, the alerting have actually 3 armor parts. So the Legion of Steels actually gives them a fairly decent protection bonus, which on top of the Bless and the base 19 defense skills, which will make them actually fairly reliable units. And it's only construction free, and as we talked about earlier, how I intend to fix a bit the research, I need to go at least construction 4. So it's like a free grab on the way that I can very easily cast with the dwarves. And the dwarves will have summon of power, because I want to have Conjuration 5 to be able to summon full-sized elementals. So it's something that's very easy to cast, and will be making my alerting not just high defense skill units, but actually high protection. And if I can also reach Alteration 5, then I can probably go add on top of that Iron Warrior, or if I've got too much of them to boost, but I've already got Nature Dude, then Wooden Warrior, which is far more reliable because of the area of effect, which is 5 instead of 1. So that makes actually very, very beefy alertings. So that's probably like my go-to spells. Then what else would I really consider? Probably.
My question is that are you going to be using your guys as thugs at all? Because Air 2 screams thug to me.
Yeah. If I go alteration for Iron Warrior, Wooden Warrior, this kind of stuff, obviously that means that especially if I started making gears, due to the fact that I want probably to rush construction, it means that I go Mist Form with the Glamour, with the base high defense skill. So it means that as long as I don't pity dump like crazy, I basically got free means to tug. The thing is that I don't think I intend to tug, like be the first one to tug. Like I want to raid with small parties, like 1 dude, 1 Van Herse, and 3 or 4 Sacreds, for example, stuff like that. I want to keep my tug researching on just clue trapeze on top of opponent's tugs. Like I want to keep them as counter tugs, because elves tugs are like the basic go-to. Oh, I can kill this shit because it's got like 30 defense skill and I can't touch it. But thing is that elves tugs are very squishy actually. They've got very low amount of HP. There's a lot of counters to elves. Stuff such as Earth Meld, Entangle, Webs, attack skill Bless, to like Ripple Bless. Like for example, I'd easily see Machaka with some attack skill in the Bless, adding a Burning Pearl and stuff like that. And so it makes it fairly easy for them to counter simply defense skill based tugs, and I'd rather keep the tugs in the house ready to clutch trappers than actually use them for tugging. I think you've got enough means to raid as it is with Helheim to bother sending lone mages that are extremely expensive for tugging. Because like as you're looking at the Ds, for example, the Ds are R1 Def 1 and are cap only, so that means they are in competition with the dwarves, which are amazing, and with the Ungadrat, which are nice but very expensive, and that you want mainly in later stage of the game to enable like very strong evocation, such as Wailing Winds and Wing of Death. So basically, these, even though they could make like decent, fairly cheap raiders, are not worth the opportunity cost, basically. Vanjal can be raiders, but then again, that means you need to spend gems into gears to have them go solo, whereas you could just take 3 or 4 alerting, even less sometimes, and lead them with a Vanercy, and you've got a raiding party that's far less at a risk and that can take a lot of things face on. So, like, Tugs is a go-to, but to me, it's a go-to to counter what my opponent is going to use to bring down my raiding party sent initially.
Now, I played against you in one of the games, and one of the when you were playing, or I think it was your partner was playing Helheim, correct?
Yeah, that was the Disciple game, and we're doing like a very sketchy build with Regent Bless that
we're not going to talk about that because that didn't really happen.
Yeah, so just like if you want to use this game as a reference for like stuff to do or not to do with Helheim, that's like kind of.
Well, I think that this is more the favorable way, because you guys did a very good job at some of the aspects of that. I didn't see you using any units except for the sacreds. Are you planning on doing the same thing again?
Thing is that your mages are very expensive. You need infrastructure to be able to pump out a few more Vanjars if you want to have like more than a few mages. So you need like also fairly big expansion in infrastructure. And then thing is that between the price of your mages, the price of the labs for the indies, the price of the indies, the price of the sacred, you're kind of like, do I really want to spend my extra gold on units that are very expensive to be like stronger than base units, but that won't be very numerous, so that can be dying to elementals, that can be dying to simply out of skeleton spam and stuff. I think that my approach with Helheim relies far more on summoning stuff than actually using a lot of troops. Like the thing is, your people have no idea what you're actually fielding or not until you strike them. And even if you strike them, they don't know if it's raiding force, if it's avant-garde parties, or if it's actually all your old armies. So they never know what's coming, and you want to use that to bait them into thinking that either you've got only sacreds or that you're actually not using the rest because you're waiting for them to commit and make a mistake.
And I'm really looking forward to that, because like one of the things is the omniscience mod. We get to see just about everything, but we have no clue where your army is. And there's no way. And so what's really cool is that we get that anticipation of where are you going to strike. So yeah, that's going to be really fun for us. And I think that we hit really hard that you're probably going to only be using your sacred units because of money. And because of that, I think that it's kind of a good segue into asking, how are you going to make these things so that you don't need anything else? And so I guess the question is, what pretender did you take?
Okay, so I went with a pretty special build. I wanted to try out something, so it's like kind of a on the run build that I just thought about. So for the record, you probably know that recently I've been doing a lot of awake researcher stuff builds, and this one is no derogation to that. It's also one of the way I intend to face my research issue because I'm starting with a god that's actually 70 research.
Oh,
70.
jeez.
And the bless is actually not so bad. It's a mix between some basic resistances and the stuff to have actually reliable sacred.
Okay,
So
so walk me through this. What is the chassis?
I went with a great sage.
Okay, so let me find the Great Sage real quick. Okay, so
You're
Great
on.
Sage is and he's also an inspiring researcher. So that's kind of
Exactly.
another. Oh wow, yeah, that's he starts at 22.
Yeah.
Okay, so walk me through your paths real quick.
Okay, so I went Fire 5, Air 3, Water 3, Earth 3, Astral 4, Death 2, Nature 4, Blood 1.
Okay, just so why would you take something that is like a blood 1 or a death 2 when it doesn't actually give you a bless? Like what does that give you?
So there's a few things. First of all, is that when I was doing my build, my initial thought before actually the details of a bless were I need to be able to have a lot of magic. I want to be able to use enable magic very early into the game for elves. So my initial thought was abusing the fact that you've got a new path for only 10 design points. So the initial build was going 2 2 2 2 2 2 basically.
Oh jeez.
Then I was like, then I can leverage nothing with that. So how do I modify that? But thing is, it stays with Blood 1 on Dev 2 because it's actually very low cost for extra research.
So this is actually for the research points.
Yes, but it also enables the ability to craft gears with paths that I don't really get otherwise. So I got Astral Death, so I can go Dusk Daggers. If I face like eye protection tugs or super combatant, it allows blood with nature, blood with air. So I can do Wrath of Pazuzu, I can do Rain of Toads. It stuff like that. So basically, the thing is that it enables me to craft most gears, not all gears, but most gears. It enables me to cast basically most spells that I do not have access to naturally. It enables me to craft Matrix, which I do not have naturally either. The god is kind of a touch everything. In early game is basically my research pool. In early game is really like the dude that will allow me to be ahead of the others in research and stay competitive as the elves and not fall too hard too fast. And then he's probably switching to be a forging and teleporting battle mage. So it depends. Like it depends on what I'm going to face basically.
What's your bless gonna be?
So, in terms of bless, I went with minor fire resistance, attack skill, swiftness and defense skill, basic stats for elves. Then of course strength of the earth because like your elves you like actually killiness power with the alertings. Magic weapons because we've got quite a few annoying lads that we want to go through, be it Uber, be it a lot of Astral Nation, with notably players that are very good on them, so I'm expecting quite a few of budget around, stuff like that. And then I went major poison resistance, minor poison resistance, and resilience. So basically, the resistances I took is basically saying like the early threats I think I'm not able to face is poison, if I don't have any these fast enough and enchantment fast enough to cast poison ward and stuff. Because that otherwise I'd be too RNG reliant to resist those early tools. So I don't want to be RNG reliant. I think that's Sormasha on Marverny, so I want to have like the means to survive that.
There's a pan as well, and pan I think has it out of the box as well.
Pan. Yeah, that's it. That's Pangea too. So like it's like there's a lot of risk of poison plays, and my secrets are too expensive. My secrets are supposed to be kept alive at maximum. Like, I don't want to trade them dumbly. I don't want to, like, I need them. Actually, I probably need them more alive than actually as a fighting force, because they are a dissension force. Like, they're like a latent threat, permanent threat. They don't know if they will eat, when they will eat, where they will eat. So having them survive the early skirmishes where there's like early tools such as fire elementals and poison will be very scary for them. So I wanted to have bless that allows me to survive phase 2 main threats. Another reason why I took minor fire resistance over the Chansey fire elementals is that there's going to be Machaka and Ubar, I think, and what was the last Fire Nation? I think there was a third one which had fire, and there
I
was
think
Yumi.
that's it, but I could be wrong.
There was Yumi too, though we don't.
Oh,
expect
there's
them
a
to get.
Yomi. Okay, yeah.
And oh yeah, on Arco. Arco got a bit of fire too.
Okay, yes, that's true.
No, do they? I don't remember. I'm not sure. Maybe
Well,
I'm confusing Arco with something else.
I don't remember. I know for sure the ones that have pretty solid fire being Ubar, and like there are definitely fire nations in this game.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I don't know Ubar because I've not played in a game with Ubar. I'm kind of curious as to what they're. I thought that they were an alteration nation though.
I wouldn't. They can make great use of alteration, but I think that they're more likely to go conjuration and evocation with the stuff they got. But then
Okay,
again,
that's fair enough. I haven't done that interview with Kirby yet, and I'm kind of looking forward to it because I don't know anything about Ubar. I'm literally shooting from the hip.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I don't know. I'm very impatient to see what he's going to do too. To be honest, but I basically build a bit thinking like, okay, I've got to take that into account. But yeah, the build is kind of made up on the moment, and it's how good will it actually be? I'm not actually sure. I know that it expands actually fine. I actually tried to expand without bless to make sure I could expand with a light bless in terms of stats. Well, it's not that light in terms of stats actually, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
So what are your Dominion? What are your
okay? So
I'm sorry, did it get late?
I went with a very low Dominion. I went with 4. Because the god is awake, so you will having. Whoa! I need to learn to speak. You will be having 3 temple check, 3 extra temple check from turn 1 because you've got an awake god. So
Okay, that's fair enough.
Your dominion will be.
But what about your sacreds? I mean, do you only want 4 of these bad boys?
Yeah, because you will probably have 4 temples up fairly early, so you'll probably be pumping 3 or 4 a turn, depends if you're doing a dwarf or not, basically, because dwarves are not sacred. So you're probably going to be doing 4 most of the turn.
Okay.
Basically, your sacred mages, but your recruit will probably be in the other forts, except for the first few turns.
Now, will you be with your expansion party? Do you need 2 turns of recruitment to get an expansion party, or is it just 1 dude and 3 horses
for safety's sake, it's unpronounceable.
You're good.
Okay.
I'm sorry, dude. I teach the language, and it's absolutely horrendous to try to explain rules too. So I'm right there with you.
Well, for safety's sake, I decided that after like my 2, 3, 4 games of testing, that I'll probably use 1 expansion party every 2 turns, because I want to avoid attrition. I can probably expand with like 3 alerting and 1 Vanose. It depends what I'm going into. So
3 of these guys, and then 1. Wait, which guy? The Vanhurst?
Yeah, the cheapest one.
Okay, so you take one of these guys and like you could do like 3 of these and 1 of these, but it's really risky, right?
It depends what you're sending them into, basically. But yes. So basically, I would go with 5 or 6 alertings per expansion party. The thing is, LM expand very quickly, even if you do 1 expansion party every 2 turns, because they clear most of the stuff and they take very little attrition. So even with that, I can actually have a fairly above average expansion without committing too much and without being like the usual big airline that everybody sees every time there's a game where you see like all in on the rainbow bless and the stats on the alertings, and the dude goes like 5 alertings a turn and it just goes like 25 provinces turn 10 or something, you know.
That's really good.
I don't want to be like the big guy directly from the very first turns and be like the first target.
Oh, so
Because
you're not actually getting 25 with this. You're trying to keep a little bit smaller so you don't become a target.
I want to be above average in terms of size, but I don't want to be too big, because there's like this kind of stupid approach. Well, it makes sense, but that basically elves are just going to snowball if they are too big already. They don't take
Yeah,
it into
I had
account.
that too. I've never seen it happen though. Like it's really weird. Have you?
I've seen it happen, but like when I was total beginner, and it was basically we were all bad, so everybody was just sending whatever they had to face the elves, and we had no magic support and stuff, and the elves had like a huge rainbow blast, so they basically smash everybody. That's like the only time I saw them snowball. But thing is, I don't want to be looking as a big threat right from the get-go. What I want to do is have a good expansion, a blast that allows me to expand fine, fight fine if I've got to fight early wars, if I choose to fight early wars, that defense fines against like the most possible early threats I'm going to have to face, such as fire elementals and poison. But what I want is that it's a build that allows me to leverage a very strong research. And I want to actually be kind of more like lurking around. I will join fights if I have to. I will try to look to join fights or even force fights, but that will ideally I will be the one choosing my fights. Ideally, the fact that I will push people away from thinking, okay, I want to fight him right from the get-go. Because most people think, I'm Big Bless, oh jeez, that's going to be nasty, I'm going to have a lot of losses, and I don't want to face that. What I want is basically to scavenge around a bit. I want build up. Basically, I want to build up until I reach like very, very powerful, like my power spikes. So basically, I want to go construction to have, like we talked, like the school mentor and stuff, and then basically the moment with the school mentors, I hit a big first research, which is to say conjuration. Then I probably go into a war because I will have like lots of air gems sitting around. I can probably clear somebody at this point with just using magic and the secrets, and then I basically sit around again and wait for evocation for wailing winds and winds of death, and then I will start dropping Vanguard Drought left and right, basically. Thing is that I don't want to play it like most apps you see, which is to say all in, all in, all in, and then when people start to have magic, then I'm like, okay, I'm screwed. I can't rely on the sacreds, and they basically turtle in their forts, building mages, trying to break into blood, while they don't have a very good means to break into blood efficiently in terms of gold for time invested, basically. I don't want to be playing these typical elves. I try to steamroll and I run out of steam, and I'm done for. I'm more like trying to break into most paths early to be basically abusing the strong research you can actually have because of the huge, like these 4 death gems from the very first turn, like it's like huge. So I really want to abuse that to basically surprise people. Like they really expect an Helheim that will fight neck and tooth from the get-go. That's not how I intend to play them. I intend to play like really the sneaky, dirty elves that scavenge, and that just drops just by with only power spike. Like I want to use this early research late to basically always be with the magic age.
Now, speaking of players that are playing as elves, and let's transition into this. One of the players is kind of the band player. He played in the previous series that we had casted. I think you saw that one.
Yeah, it's Gaslov. Is
Yeah.
the famous Valheim one trick?
Now, what's interesting is that I think you can actually see in my stream now. I've got the channel pulled up, and what's interesting about this is that he did what you said last time. He went out and was like big and scary and took over another nation, and then just got hammered. I mean, like everybody's like, "Oh no, it's the elves. They're gonna take over the world, and we don't want the elves to take over the world." And I mean, like everyone just. And meanwhile, Scolari is sitting over there going like, "This is my dream situation."
Yeah. I would even add that it did something very similar in how do you call it one? It was Forlorn Hope, and the only reason he actually stayed alive for so long in Forlorn Hope is that the Elm player was basically winning the war against him, and then got betrayed by another nation, which allowed him to peace out. But basically, it went the same way. He went very aggro on the early game, basically almost took out Stis from the get-go. I think you even subbed for Stis, who basically gave up at one point.
I was playing against him at that time?
Yeah.
That was like such a unique situation because the guy wasn't actually talking. He wasn't messaging anybody or anything. And so I'd sub in occasionally because he was like staling and I couldn't get a hold of him. And then he'd play the next turn.
Yeah. But
I'm trying to figure out if I'm supposed to sub. Yeah, I remember that, and I was able to extract my pound of flesh, but so he never was able to win after that, even though he was very dominant.
Yeah. Basically, the thing is that if not for Marinion suiciding into attacking Ulm 2, he would have been taken out because he was yet again the big scary big boy, and people just jumped at him. And it's like 2 or 3 times that when I see him, he's like very dominant early, but it then gets like, if not collisionate, there's at least 1 or 2 players that are as strong as him that basically take him on. I don't want to be like in this dominant position, which is then everybody fights you, because I don't think elves are actually that good into facing many players at once because of the cost of their units, the fact that it's hard for them to mass. It means that every single losses is actually very costly. And you having many fronts basically means you've got to spread your resources into weaker, like more little groups of troops that are basically weaker. And what makes elves very strong is not just the fact they've got like elite units. It's the fact that with their high map move, their stealths and stuff like that, you're basically theoretically always choosing your battles to be battles that you will smash. And if you're facing too many people, you're more reactive than proactive usually. So unless you're ready to shave a very big pound of flesh, then it's just a slow descent to hell. And I don't want to face that too early. I can face that with Helheim if I'm given just enough time to hit the very strong evocation. Then I'm confident that I will be able to face most of the player together.
Now,
but
which players of this list are you most afraid of? Like, what are either the nations or the players are you most afraid
of? To be honest, I think the 2 players I would be the most afraid would be Sackney and Joe Brandon. I don't think anybody, maybe except Ersika, which is pretty new, is like anywhere close to below average. I think they are probably most are probably stronger than me actually as a player. But when I check the matchups, I think that Pan I can beat. Ferodos, I've got magic weapons, I've got poison resistance. I don't think like it would be a pain to face Ferodos, but nothing too annoying. I think Ubar, I'm not afraid. I've got magic weapons, I've got spirit sight, I've got fire resistances. Actually, I think it's actually like the matchup is so much in my favor that it's probably like a free one. You're on Van, I'm not Helheim.
Yes, that's why I'm like, what's going on? So this spirit sight is literally the thing that lets you eat Ubar for lunch.
Yeah, added to the magic weapons, yeah, basically. So I'm really not afraid of Ubar. Then if we go back to the player nations, Arco can be rough because he's likely going to go with a pretty strong bless on his sacreds. But
dude, I was testing out Arco the other day, and it felt like flipping easy mode. Anybody that plays Arco should get like, I don't know, like 40 province expanse. That was insane. And the fact that, I mean, their counter rating ability for you would be really rough in my opinion, wouldn't it?
Actually, not really, because he's not sneaky. If he's not sneaky, it means that I can Cloud Trapeze on top of his raiders. I'm totally fine taking a few raiding parties with just one geared Cloud Trapezing tug that will simply use early mantles. It's very easy to have actually to have dudes that can resist raiding parties with very little gears and then take them out. Like, I'm not afraid of Arco raiding me. On the contrary, if it doesn't doomstack, I'm even more confident. What annoys me is that I'll have to commit against him, and because of the sacreds he got, it means that I can suffer fairly big losses in terms of my own sacreds too. So sure, I think mine are a bit superior, but it would still be pretty annoying in terms of trading, which is what I don't really like against the Arco. But on the contrary, if Arco basically goes on for raiding me, then I'm like, sure, dude, please do. I'm basically waiting for you to do that, because I can Cloud Trapeze and he cannot. And his sacreds are not sneaky, so he cannot sneak out of a province. Because that's the only way he would avoid to be beaten by a Cloud Trapezing tug. Because basically what makes the edge so strong compared to other nation good at raiding is that you can attack, sneak, attack another turn, sneak, attack another turn, sneak, and you avoid basically anything except Vengeance of the Dead and Mind Hunt.
Yeah, and speaking of Mind Hunt, how are you planning on dealing with that? I mean, I think that there are more than a few nations in this game that can Mind Hunt you. How are you planning on dealing with that? Are you just going to avoid them, or?
So, ideally, we take, if there's a strong nation early enough out of the game, that it's not an issue. But that's in an ideal world, and let's face it, that's not going to happen. Even more so if it's Jobrandon and Marvani. So there I'm actually pretty scared. I'm not even sure I can beat him one-on-one. Even if I've got like the edge as Helheim, because he's probably that much better of a player than me. And if not, then what I hope is that I got Astral mages somewhere that I can find. And then I simply put a shade mail on them, and I basically, yeah, that's the simple.
I love that.
But that's efficient. So if I can get,
very good.
Yeah. Do you want to explain that situation, or do you want to explain that, Mandar, how you do the shade mail, Mind Hunt, middle finger, I guess?
If somebody attempts to Mind Hunt in a province with a hostile Astral Mage in it, whether the hostile Astral Mage is sneaking or not, there is a 40% chance per level of astral, that is counting boosters, for the Mindhunter to get his brains blown out. So you slap some Shade Mail onto an Astral 2 or 3 mage.
What does the Shade Mail do?
Shade Mail makes you able to be stealthy. Other stealth boosting items just boost existing stealth but don't grant it. Shade Mail is the only non-artifact. It's the only non-artifact way to do it. Then you sneak the Astral Mage under where they're going to Mind Hunt, and suddenly all of their Mind Hunters have blown their brains out. They're feeble-minded. You can still cure that with affliction healing, but even so, that'll take a while.
And what's interesting is a psychological impact on that happening is, I mean, like you don't want to Mind Hunt ever again, and you almost only need one of these guys, because if you have one of them, it puts the fear of the astral in the Mind Hunters.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you have one of them but sneaky, that means he's got no idea either how many he got. So he will think that you already got. If you sent one, it's not the only one you sent.
It's like another layer of elfing. It's almost more evil because you've already got the elf aspect, but now you've got elves with sneaky astral mages too.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's how I'd face Mindhunt. But to finish quickly on what we talked about, like the nations and the players. In terms of pure players, so I talk like Sacknet, Joponder are probably the main threats. I think that the nation I fear the most might actually be Machaka.
Really? I mean, like, Machaka
you gotta
is
explain
often...
that to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that think it's weak.
To me, early age Machaka is actually not weak. They've got a lot of good tools, and it can be very, very scary. Furthermore, they tend to have fairly high attack skill, and it's a nation on which it's very easy to go and take some extra attack skill. So they're also like the most likely to have the most easy way to deal with how do you call that? My secret. Because it's like size 3, 13 attack skill, basically because of their weapons. And with a bless, you can very, very easily do repel builds on them. And like if you go Blood Surge and attack skill +4, stuff like that, it's from my experience against or with Machaka, that's actually fairly frequent. So that's probably what would be the most annoying. Worst, they've got 16 protection, which is huge in early age. So that's going to be fairly rough for my Sacred to beat them. They've got base in magic weapons that it's 27, which basically means if they hit, they kill one of my dude. They don't really care about my leg.
They hit an arm or a leg, in which case the damage is capped to 50%.
But then you have an elf with like one less arm or leg, and it's still it's still a hit.
It's still a hit, but it's not going to kill them. And we're still talking about blunt damage, right? That's not going to sever an arm. It's not guaranteed to.
Oh, really? Yeah, so it actually still lives? Wow.
Oh yeah, it's only slash damage, which is guaranteed to cause arm loss or what is it, like crippling when you destroy a leg? I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably
it's just regular affliction chances.
But the thing is that regardless of that, that's still 16 protection, 22 HP, and can probably one-shot any of the sacreds anyway. So it's if he's got a bare amount of attack skill in his place, it's like as much as I counter Uber, Machaka would counter me then. And that's what I'm afraid of. Like, sure, I got means to beat Machaka in different ways, but it's probably the nation that actually is the most scary for me. And worst, it's got amazing tech buffs if you check like the Buddhas and stuff. So it's very easy for him to make dudes that are going to be able to survive and to take onto my ratings party. He just got to give an armor to one of them and send like an N1 with a gem, N2 with a gem to enlarge on personal regen, on a fluff regen on one of the Buddha, and he can tank my my elves for like ages, like till the turn timer basically. And so it's like fairly cheap and easy for him to do. Like he's got probably the best tool set to actually destroy elves. So in my opinion, it's like the nation that's the most scary to me. I'm not saying that other nations are weak, far from that actually, but in my opinion, it's the one that's going to be the most. I'm going to have to be the most to the lookout for. It's also played by Sackney, which is probably the strongest of the player on this list. So double reason to be careful.
Okay, dude. Well, I want to thank you for joining and giving your insight, and just being able to interview you is just a really awesome thing to be able to do. So thanks for joining up and giving us that.
You've got something that you might want to show players before viewers before we go back, is that we talked about the god, we talked about the bless, and we know it's awake, but you only saw that you were in negative spawns. We didn't talk about the choice of scare, which is actually pretty important.
Okay, real quick, dude, because we're going on about an hour, and
Yeah.
I need to actually go through, and my wife is going to we're making a pretender tonight.
I understand that, man. Just like I think it's important for people to understand. It's only 4 in 4, 3, 4.
One like that, right? Okay, and then 4 here, and then what are we going for this?
So basically, we went magic 3. We went heat 2, actually.
Heat 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know there's Uber, but like we talked about, Uber is not a threat. At least, in my opinion, not a threat to Helheim. Especially with magic weapon added to that. I went growth 1 because it's tier 2 thrones mainly, so there's a lot of way to gain extra growths with thrones, which we can probably contest fairly early because we are aligned. I went misfortune 2, and I went slow 3 because you don't need that much resources to be able to max out production on the secrets.
Excellent. Yeah, I really like the growth 1 or 2. I really like, and I find that there's a lot of players in this game that are saying that, and that they actually realize that the throne count is majority throne level 2s. It's kind of an interesting thing that people are actually catching that. But yeah, I mean the thing is that nothing strikes me as really surprising except for the heat 2, because anytime that you're going to be during spring or summer, and even parts of fall, it's going to go to heat 3, and it's going to be a huge income loss. I mean, you're looking at minus 27% for the majority of the year.
Between heat 3 and heat 2, it won't change that much to me, actually. Like
it's 5%, which is, I mean, it's 5% on top of, like, you're already losing a lot. So
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, like it's a scary thing to do, but I mean, at the same time, I mean, you get an extra scale out of it. So
yeah, that's the idea. It's in some way it could be considered as greedy, and yet I think it's probably the right play to do there.
I mean, if you could get away with Turmoil 1, I think that the better way to go would be Turmoil 1, Cold 3. But I mean, at the same time, if you need the order, then absolutely you got to go with it. So
yeah.
Okay, dude. Yeah. Well, I've really got to get out. I'm being given the work. So yeah, Joe, man, thank you for joining. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. That was my pleasure.
And Mandar, thanks for coming in at the end and giving us a little bit of insight. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, well then I will catch you guys in the next one. Chuman, we will definitely have you back to have some other mid-game interviews. So good luck in the game, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.